It's that time again, the US elections. With months to go before the first primary ballots are cast, the field for the 2024 presidential election is rapidly taking shape. On the Democratic side, President Biden announced he is running, but faces no serious challenges. Former President Donald Trump is mounting a third consecutive bid, and several other Republicans are running or considering a campaign. A Republican showdown is set to dominate the early months of 2024 presidential election cycle, with more than a half a dozen candidates competing for the nomination. I sat down with Mukta to discuss what we can expect in terms of candidates running to be the most powerful person in the world. I am Ankur and you are listening to the News Park.
Hi Ankur, how are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm good as well. So, US elections are almost here. I'm always excited to talk about it.
Yep, almost here.
And already there are a bunch of people running out to be the President of the United States.
Yep, and I expect the field to grow even more.
Yeah, and I think it will. But I want to discuss the current lot of candidates that we have, who are running from both sides, Democrats and Republicans. And I want us to discuss a little bit about the candidates also, so that we have an idea about what kind of people are running to be the president this time.
Sure. All right, let's talk about them.
Okay, so my first question is, who is running for president in 2024 US elections?
Well, let's talk about the Democratic side first. So
Okay.
we have a sitting president, Joe Biden, already. So most likely he will be the nominee from Democratic side. But
Yeah.
we do have two candidates who are challenging him for the nomination. The first one is Robert Kennedy Jr. And if our listener doesn't know him, he is the son of Senator Robert Kennedy and is a former environmental lawyer who has spent more than a decade pushing anti-vaccine conspiracy theories. And the second candidate who is running to be the Democratic nominee is Marianne Williamson. And if you don't know her, let's go back to 2020 where she also tried to be the nominee for the Democratic Party but failed.
Okay.
And she's focusing on economic issues such as universal healthcare, tuition-free higher education, and paid family leave. But in all honesty, I think the nominee will be President Joe Biden.
Yeah, obviously he has more chances for sure.
Yeah. And if you look at the Republican side, there are already a dozen candidates who have said that they will be running to be the nominee from Republican side. And the most famous candidate would be, of course, former President
Donald Trump.
Exactly, Donald Trump. And he's mounting his third consecutive presidential campaign, seeking to avenge his 2020 loss to Biden.
Yeah.
Uh,
But he still has charges against him, right?
Yes, he has charges against him, and I think there was a recent poll where it said that hardcore Trump supporters don't really care about the charges that was laid against him. So I don't know how it's going to affect that, but most likely not.
Okay.
The second popular candidate from the GOP side is former Vice President Mike Pence. And Pence has credibility with social conservatives and touts Trump policies while criticizing him for the Capitol riot. So that's the second one. The third popular candidate from GOP side is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He portrays himself as an unabashed conservative and is pitching his Florida blueprint on issues like guns, schools, and abortion.
Okay.
The next candidate that we should watch out for is Nikki Haley. She was a former South Carolina governor and a UN ambassador. She's emphasizing her national security experience from the Trump administration while also leveling some criticism at her former boss.
And I guess she's the only women candidate running in these elections?
Yes, from GOP side, yes, she is the only woman candidate.
Yeah, I mean, U.S. elections, have seen many historical facts. Like in 2020, when Kamala Harris became the first black woman, and first Asian American woman to be elected as vice president.
Right.
So I'm hoping this time also there's going to be many firsts.
Yeah, fingers crossed, hoping that's true.
Yes. So my next question to you is, can you explain me what are presidential primaries and national conventions, and when is it going to be?
Sure. So the final election is on November 5th, 2024, and the winner is scheduled to be inaugurated in January 2025.
Okay.
The state-by-state primaries and caucuses will kick off in early 2024, culminating with party conventions the following summer. Democrats are aiming to hold their first primary in South Carolina instead of Iowa, which is a big change to the DNC's nomination process in decades. I think everyone would be interested in Super Tuesday.
Why? What's
because
that?
There's like tons of big ticket states are going to be participating for the primary, so it's like big number of seats are up for grabs. So that's going to be on March 5th. And the states that are participating in Super Tuesday is California, Texas, North Carolina, and Virginia.
Okay.
And I think that will be the day where it's going to be almost finalized who will be the candidate from each side.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. The parties will officially nominate their candidates in their conventions based on who received the most votes in the state primaries. And in 2024, Republican convention will be from July 15th to 18th in Milwaukee. And Democratic Party will hold its national convention in Chicago from August 19th to 22nd.
Got it. So, what do you think are the candidates talking about in this election?
Well, there are like a couple of issues that are gaining a lot of momentum this time. And first of all, every single candidate, whether it's Republican or Democrats, they have been attacking Joe Biden on his age.
He is old.
Yeah, but he has answered questions about his age by saying that people should watch him do the job. He has emphasized, he has emphasized in his re-election campaign that he will support freedoms he says are under threat, including abortion access, same-sex marriage, and voting rights. Republicans, meanwhile, are pledging to steady the economy.
Right.
But there are other issues as well, as like abortion, economy.
I guess guns,
yes,
economy, yes, for sure, and immigration as well.
That's a big one. So that's going to be some of the popular topics that we can expect on the debate stage as well, where candidates will lay out their policies about these topics, and people can accordingly decide who they want to support.
Yes, and I guess healthcare costs have always been the prime issue in US elections because they've always been rising. So I guess that's another thing that everyone look forward to. And I guess climate change as well.
Right. With the recent, weird temperature patterns that we are seeing across the US.
Especially the younger generation, they want to know what's happening, what policies are being enacted for carbon emissions, conservation, sustainability. So I guess those things as well. Right. So, okay. So can you tell me what are the key states to watch?
Well, the candidates are expected to focus on the battleground states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Which swung to Biden in 2020 from Trump in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, those are powerful swing states, as we call them, right? They're like the battleground states.
Yep.
I mean, they can absolutely change the outcome of elections. So that's one thing to watch out for sure.
Right. And Arizona was a strong Republican hold, but then Biden won it in 2020, so it shifted.
Completely changed, yeah.
And Georgia has become one of the country's new toss-up state in recent years.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Trump appeals to white voters in 2016 and 2020 election, alienated some people of color in Georgia who make up nearly half of the state's population. So that's going to be an interesting
That's
watch.
interesting, yes.
Yeah. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania were a blue wall state that Trump turned in 2016 election. So these states will be, interesting to watch out for and see. They, as you said, can decide who will be the next president.
Yes. Okay, so So, what do you think are the basis for winning the US elections? I mean, I know powerful speeches works the best, I guess, right? What do you think, would help in these elections?
That's a very interesting question, Mugdha. So, because if you remember, when Donald Trump won in 2016, the strategy that he followed was just one-liners, insult the candidates, make fun of them, and then just gain popularity.
Yeah, I mean, bad publicity or good publicity, it's any day, like, just working in his favor.
Right. So, but then I think we saw a little shift from that in 2020, where people were actually focused on the issues, what the candidate are talking about, and what are their policies and stuff like that. I think people learned from what happened in 2016.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be something similar, where people are going to be more focused on what the candidates are bringing to the table and how different it is from what Biden is doing right now.
Yeah, so basically I feel like people are looking for, strong policy positions. They have, something compelling which focuses on the critical issues, right? That basically resonates with the voters, I feel.
But what do you think? Like, if considering yourself, like, what are you looking for in a candidate?
I think, the debates at the end of elections, like closer to the elections, they play a great role, right? So I feel, whoever turns out to be a powerful debater, is likely, might grab more votes at the end. So I feel that is one thing that these candidates might be working on for sure. And I also feel like endorsements play a great role. So like how politicians, celebrities and, leaders, they support certain candidate. I feel all their followers, do the same thing, So I feel like that brings a lot of following. And how US is a wealthy state, right? So we have huge following.
Right.
So I feel, these might also work in their favor.
But what about issues, Mukta? As a person, like, which issues do you think are more important to you? And, in a candidate, what do you want to see candidates talk about?
I think immigration would be like...
So you would want to know what the candidates are doing, what their plan is for immigration in
Yes,
US.
Absolutely. Because, so many lives are dependent on US economy and about the immigration policies. So their fate is decided, on that. Students and like so many working population there. So I feel like that is something that I personally am looking forward to, being from a working class. So that's one thing that I look forward to. What about you?
I think right now with the current climate, I'm surely looking for someone who has a plan for the economy, because the inflation is off the charts and the interest rates are rising. So I think we need someone who can handle the situation, and as economists are calling, we would want a soft landing. But we also want a plan for future, like what the candidates are thinking. So that's something that I would be looking for.
So that's your vision.
Yeah, that's something I would be, interested in knowing what they are thinking.
So we both seem to be very excited about the US elections. Do you think everyone is? Are like all the US citizens equally excited?
I think they are more than excited. I think they are actually waiting for it to come so that they can actually do what they are feeling right now. Support the candidate they are, supporting.
And what about like the neighboring countries or just the outside world?
Yeah, I mean, of course, US election affects not just US citizens, it's affecting the whole world, right? World leaders are waiting for it because it shifts how the foreign policy works. Because each candidate has a different vision. They have a different policy, how they want to treat another nation, like which nation they think is an ally and which nation they think are, it's not good to be associated with. I think we saw that from Trump's behavior regarding North Korea, and then Biden's shift in the same aspect. So so I think everyone would be interested, but it's too soon, I would say, to consider these things, because we are still in the phase of discussing who the candidates are from each party. But that's gonna come into picture once we have a clear idea who those two people will be.
Absolutely, yes. And I'll also say that, the campaigns, media strategy would be, playing a prominent role in this, because I feel like, US media has always been in limelight and, they attract a wider audience. Right. So I guess they do shape a lot public opinion, especially in the United States. So I'm actually looking forward to, which channels I'll be watching for the US elections.
Yeah, with the recent, how would I say it, likely recent controversies around media,
Yes,
like how
yeah.
influenced they are.
Those channels are biased, those are not,
Right.
so I'm confused. Let's see. Yeah.
But it's important that if you're looking from outside perspective, you should see every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, watch both the sides of
Both
media,
sides, yes, yes.
and then make an informed decision.
I'm going to ask my friends from Democrats and Republican sides, which channel should I be watching for, and I'll maybe, have a neutral point of view then.
Right. That's going to be an interesting, thing to do.
Absolutely, yes. Well, thanks so much, Ankur. This has been so interesting to talk about. US elections are always,
Right.
something that we look forward to. Thank you so much.
For sure, and this is just the starting. We are still discussing the candidates. Hopefully, when we get a clear idea of who is running, then we can discuss more about their policies, their approach.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Mukta.
Thank you.
As the US prepares for 2024 elections, the whole world is waiting to see who the candidates will be and what policies they support. The US election not only affects US citizens, but people worldwide. It's still too early to predict who will be the final nominee from both the sides, as the polls are changing by every day. But with the initial list of candidates entering the race, one thing's for sure, it will be an interesting ride. Thank you for listening. See you next time.